World War II had countless tanks, but a few were on a whole different level, deadlier, stronger, and more unstoppable than the rest. Here are 8 of the most legendary machines that dominated the battlefield. The Char B1 was a French heavy tank developed in the interwar years. In 1921, France requested a heavily armored infantry tank for breakthrough operations. Renault's design was selected, with the prototype completed in 1929 and mass production starting in 1934. The Char B1 was a fortress on tracks. Its sloped 60mm frontal armor made it nearly invincible to German tanks of the era. Only the mighty 88mm guns or a lucky strike to its thin side grille could stop it, while its own 2 guns could obliterate anything in its path. A striking example of the Char B1 Biss's strength was the tank nicknamed Ur, which played a key role in the Battle of Stan in May 1940. Under the command of Captain Pierre Bellot, this tank destroyed 13 German tanks and withstood over 140 hits, proving its legendary durability, even though it could not prevent France's eventual defeat. The main drawback of the B1 was its overworked crew. For example, the commander often had to operate the machine gun while simultaneously observing the battlefield. Combined with limited communication between crew members, this created significant operational challenges. The infantry tank Mark II, better known as the Matilda II, was a British heavy infantry tank designed in 1937. It was based on the earlier Matilda I, which had proven inadequate due to its weak armament, only a machine gun, and poor mobility. Like the French Char B1, the Matilda II was a fortress on tracks, but even tougher, with almost no armor under 70mm. In the Battle of France, only the feared German 88mm guns could pierce it, and enemy tanks had no chance, even at its rear. Meanwhile, the Matilda II could obliterate anything the Germans threw at it, known as the Queen of the Desert. The Matilda II ruled the sands of North Africa, helping to drive the Italians and Germans out of Egypt. But by 1942, the mighty tank had fallen from grace. German weapons had caught up, its armor was no longer invincible, its gun nearly useless, and its slow speed, once tolerable thanks to its heavy armor and firepower, became a serious weakness. The KV-1 was the first and standard version of the Soviet KV heavy tank. It was developed in 1939 as a single-turret alternative to the multi-turreted SMK and T-100 heavy tanks, which had been designed to replace the unsuccessful T-35. The tank was tested under the supervision of a special commission during the Winter War, in combat on the Karelian Isthmus. There, it proved its worth thanks to its exceptional durability. Finnish anti-tank weapons of the time were unable to penetrate its armor. The KV-1 truly proved itself during the defense against the German invasion, becoming one of the most feared tanks the Wehrmacht ever faced. The Germans had nothing that could match it, and there were documented cases where a single KV-1 destroyed dozens of enemy tanks. It played a crucial role in the Battle of Moscow and the Soviet counteroffensive. One famous example is Captain Zinovy Kolobanov, whose KV-1 destroyed 22 German tanks in a single battle, and despite receiving more than 150 hits, not a single one penetrated its armor. The dominance of the KV-1 ended with the appearance of German 75mm guns, which could finally penetrate its armor, and later with the arrival of the Tiger tank. But unlike the British Matilda II, the KV-1 remained relevant. It had a much more powerful gun, thicker overall armor, a more efficient suspension system, and better off-road mobility, all crucial advantages on the Eastern Front. Thanks to continuous upgrades, including the KV-1S and KV-85 variants, it stayed in service until the end of the war. The development of the heavy Tiger tank began in the late 1930s, when the companies Henschel and Porsche worked on competing prototypes. After testing in 1942, Henschel's design was chosen as the superior model, while Porsche's version, the Tiger P, was produced only in a few units. Its chassis was later used for the Ferdinand tank destroyer. The Tiger I was first deployed in August 1942 near Leningrad. Although its initial performance was limited by muddy terrain and mechanical issues, it soon proved its worth, particularly in battles such as Kharkov, where German forces crushed Soviet troops. The previously unmatched KV-1 and T-34 tanks stood no chance against the Tiger's superior firepower and armor. Among its most famous crews was Michael Wittmann. At Villers-Bocage in 1944, he and his crew destroyed dozens of Allied tanks and vehicles in one incredible engagement. Maneuvering expertly and using the Tiger's firepower to maximum effect, Wittmann turned a single tank into a one-man army, leaving the battlefield in awe and cementing the Tiger's legendary reputation. Unlike previous tanks, the Tiger remained one of the most powerful tanks throughout World War II. By the war's end, however, its thick armor, over 100 mm, was less effective against the improved Allied weapons. Yet its biggest weakness was never its armor, but its high mechanical failure rate, which plagued the tank from the very start. The Panther tank was developed in direct response to the Soviet T-34, which shocked the Germans with its mobility and sloped armor. Work on the new design began in 1942, aiming to combine heavy armor with speed and firepower. The result was the Panzerkampfwagen V Panther, a balance between the Tiger's strength and the T-34's agility. The Panther was first deployed at the Battle of Kursk, but technical problems limited its effectiveness. Once the Germans solved issues like frequent engine fires by installing improved cooling systems, the Panther became the most powerful tank of its time. It even surpassed the Tiger, with better frontal armor, a superior gun, and greater mobility. In the Snowy Ardennes in 1944, during the German offensive, the Panther proved its deadly reputation. Its sloped armor could shrug off most Allied fire, while its powerful 75 mm gun destroyed enemy tanks and vehicles at any range. Panther crews struck fear into American and Allied forces as they advanced through the harsh winter terrain, taking advantage of both mobility and firepower. Even late in the war, the Panther remained one of the most formidable tanks on the battlefield. Its design was so advanced that Panthers continued to serve in several armies long after World War II, proving the tank's effectiveness and lasting legacy. The IS-2, or Iosif Stalin tank, was developed by the Soviets in 1943 as a response to German heavy tanks like the Tiger and Panther. It was based on lessons learned from the IS-1, combining its strongest features into a more powerful and better protected machine. Armed with a massive 122 mm gun and thick armor, the IS-2 was designed to crush fortified positions and dominate enemy armor. After successful prototype trials in late 1943, mass production began in early 1944, and the IS-2 quickly became the backbone of Soviet heavy tank units on the Eastern Front. The IS-2 first entered combat in early 1944, but early models had issues with weak armor that made them vulnerable in some situations. Once these problems were fixed with improved armor design, the tank became much more resilient. Its massive 122 mm gun could literally tear through the thickest German armor, slicing through Tigers and Panthers with ease. IS-2s played a key role in breaking fortified positions, destroying bunkers, and leading assaults during major operations such as the Vistula, Oder Offensive and the final push into Berlin. Despite its slow-loading 122 mm gun, the IS-2 was a successful design and remained in service with the Red Army for many years after the end of World War II. The Pershing tank, officially known as the M26, was developed by the United States in 1944 to counter the German tanks like the Panther and Tiger. It built upon lessons learned from the Sherman, featuring thicker armor, a stronger chassis, and a powerful 90 mm gun capable of destroying the toughest enemy tanks. Early prototypes were tested in late 1944, and after refinements, mass production began. The Pershing was designed to combine firepower, protection, and mobility, giving Allied forces a much-needed heavy tank for the final push into Germany. Although Pershings didn't arrive in Europe until January 1945 and didn't have much time to prove themselves, it was clear they were significantly stronger than German Tigers and Panthers. With better armor, a more powerful gun, improved mobility, and a gun stabilizer, the Pershing had a clear advantage. This was most famously shown in one of the best documented tank duels of World War II, when a Pershing defeated a Panther by being able to shoot accurately on the move, something the German tank couldn't do as effectively. It's also worth mentioning the improved Super Pershing, which featured a more powerful gun and thicker armor than the standard M26. Its firepower and protection were so impressive that it could match the strength of the tank ranked first on this list. Later, the Pershings were deployed in the Korean War, where they performed well against Soviet T-34 tanks. However, their underpowered engines struggled in Korea's mountainous terrain, which limited their effectiveness. This led to their replacement by the upgraded M46 Patton, featuring a new gun and a more powerful engine. The Tiger II, better known as the King Tiger, was developed in 1943 when German engineers wanted to create the ultimate heavy tank. It took the thick armor of the Tiger and the sloped design of the Panther, turning it into an almost indestructible beast. Its 88mm gun could destroy any Allied tank long before they even got close. The King Tiger was Germany's attempt to regain dominance on the battlefield, a monster built to crush anything that stood in its way. When the King Tiger rolled onto the battlefield in 1944, it instantly became one of the most feared machines of the entire war. Its massive 88mm gun could destroy any Allied tank before they even had a chance to fire back, and its thick, sloped armor made it almost invincible from the front. Allied crews often said that fighting a King Tiger felt hopeless. Shells simply bounced off its hull while it destroyed targets from over 2 kilometers away. But all that power came at a cost. The tank's enormous weight and complex mechanics led to constant breakdowns, and its fuel-hungry engine made it difficult to keep in battle for long. Among those who showed just how deadly the King Tiger could be was the legendary tank ace Kurt Nispel. In his Tiger II, he destroyed numerous Allied tanks, several American and dozens of Soviet vehicles. But even he couldn't fight forever. Surrounded and outnumbered, his tank was finally destroyed after a fierce battle. Nispel's story proved how terrifying the King Tiger truly was, yet in the end, its failures outweighed its successes. Mechanical breakdowns, fuel shortages, and overwhelming Allied numbers turned this steel monster into a symbol that being the strongest doesn't always mean being the best. From unstoppable steel beasts to flawed giants, these tanks defined the battlefields of World War II. Each one pushed the limits of technology, power, and human courage. But in the end, it wasn't just about armor or firepower. It was about strategy, skill, and survival. Thanks for watching, and tell us in the comments, which of these tanks do you think was truly the best of World War II?